All right, welcome back to round 2 of the move of the day from the Candidates tournament in Russia. And this move of the day is a little bit strange. When I conceived of the idea of move of the day, of course, I imagined fanciful moves. This time, I actually want to look at, let's call it a bad move, or a move that's maybe better described as being on tilt. And I want to talk about it because it really did, to a large extent, already shape the nature of this tournament going into round 2. I didn't expect anything to be clear in terms of what's going on by round 2 in this tournament. So to give a little context, most people were saying that the 2 clear favorites for this tournament were FIDE Caruana and Ding Liren. They were saying something like 40% for FIDE, 30% for Ding. Ding has gone totally bonkers. It's 0-2, and statistically at least, it looks really bad for him to win this event. And when you think about his chess trajectory, it's almost like by the next time the cycle rolls around, he's getting up in age already. It's hard to believe that, but that's the way these young kids are coming up. For example, next time Farouja is going to be there, and it's going to be a whole different bunch of kids, literally kids, much younger than Ding. So this really is a big day for him, a big loss. And yes, maybe he can still come back, but it's going to be difficult. Now, before we dive into this, I do want to say we've just started this amazing ChessDojo platform. We're on Twitch, we're on Discord, and of course, you're probably watching this on YouTube. If you could just hit the subscribe button, it would help us along. That's all you've got to do. All right, let's dive into the position. And, from the first, almost anybody looking at this will say all of the pieces look bad for both sides. This bishop looks bad, especially the minors. They all just look terrible. Like they just don't know what they're doing. And I think this is very common for this modern style of Ruy Lopez. And so let me just do a little bit of historical background. And that is that we get to this position, this classic position in the Ruy Lopez. When Fischer was playing, the universal move was c3. Loads of theory and yada yada. And then really in the 90s with guys like Mickey Adams, d5 was proven to be, let's say, more than enough compensation, and especially good in a practical game. And interestingly, for this little discussion that we're doing, it was Radjabov who beat Ding Liren with white in this old-time move order with some preparation to qualify for this tournament. And of course, he blundered. He blundered magnificently and decided not to play because of the coronavirus. And actually, I want to just say a shout out to the fans out there. I'm very happy they're playing. I think in this moment of kind of uncertainty, especially as a chess fan, it gives me something beautiful to watch. Even if part of the beauty is just the struggle that these guys are personally going through. So let's go to our position. Everything's poor, and one of the reasons I highlighted the historical position in this position is really this kind of position has been Ding's bread and butter. He likes slow maneuvering positions. For example, with white, he's fantastic with the Catalan, and with black, he's played e4, e5 forever, and was always been able to get interesting positions. And also, let's say that the first move of the day we covered yesterday, his first round loss, a kind of position you wouldn't expect the guy to lose. So part of what's going on here when I talk about this game has to be seen through a psychological lens. I don't think there's any other way of looking at it. You lost round 1. You realize that you are kind of on the brink in terms of your career, and then here you let it fly against a guy, MVL, who you don't want to mess around with. You really don't. The guy is, I've seen him stream on Puzzle Rush. He's killing all the little technical tactics, and he's going to see them quickly. And that's definitely what we're going to see with the finish of this game. I mean, basically, you make one mistake, and it's going to all be over. All right. So let's talk briefly about these pieces, right? This is a kind of a nice piece, but no one knows what it's doing. This knight, also really not so clear what it's doing. This bishop, he would love some action on that diagonal, but obviously very blocked. The most problematic piece, though, of everybody is this knight. So let's look at what Ding played. He plays f5. And the first thing I think we should say is that mortals wouldn't even think about this move because they would be worried about knight takes e5. That was my first reaction. I was like, what? Can you do that? But the issue is c4. So there is a way out against the knight e5. However, from a positional standpoint, I think what you have to say is you've just increased the value of the bishop on b3 because this is open, and the knight on f3. Not only for this trick, but maybe someday it goes to g5 as well. And further, it's not clear how f5 helps the black position other than getting the knight out. All right. So let me just say my own Patzer GM thought during the game was, well, the knight has to move. That was also my thought. And I just wanted to play at f6 to dominate the knight and then play knight f7. And then to me, it feels roughly equal. Of course, in preparation for this lecture, I looked at the computer, though I don't look at it when I'm just observing the game. And it said, well, maybe white's a touch better. But I don't see that with my human eyes. I really don't. Okay. Now, the first thing that I think we have to say is that black probably missed the next move. Not that, he didn't miss that. Now, let's just say, when you put the bishop on e8, in a sense, you probably are going to owe white a tempo because you're going to have to come back. But what he missed certainly was how powerful c4 was. And the main point of c4 is to get this bishop active. And the point is, you can't move this pawn because of bishop a4, right? That's going to be the issue. And if you do any kind of funny business like rook f8, then knight e5 will be very strong. And, you know, that's part of the experience of weak GMs like me is like, well, moves like f5 are really scary because you're mobilizing all of these pieces. Okay, now what I want to show two moves basically where I feel like the guy went on tilt, but it's of a piece with f5. It's kind of the narrative of losing your mind when playing f5. And again, the thing I want to stress with f5 is I don't really understand like what he wanted, because yes, the pawns are pointing towards the king's side, but the black pieces are not even close to organizing some kind of kingside attack against white. All right, so c4 exclam. Okay, now we have a problem because of bishop a4. And now g5. Now, it's funny, like, he's definitely worse here, but g5 is absolutely losing his mind. And one of the important reasons, I think, to see that he's losing his mind here is that this piece isn't going to help in the attack on the white king. And further, it's just not even clear. When you imagine this move g5, like, if we gave black another move, would he really have anything here? At least it's not clear to me. So g5 feels completely nuts. And so what we're going to get now is a very technical finish from MVL. But that doesn't, you know, this part where MVL plays fantastically doesn't surprise me. Now let's just say one other thing about g5. He committed to f5, so he's clearly dreaming of some kind of King's Indian style assault on the white king. And one of the things they tell you in the books, the kids don't read the books anymore, but they tell you that every Russian schoolboy knows to take back with a pawn. And what they mean is, in the King's Indian, they want the pawn to take this way. Well, what MVL says is you play g5. Now I'm going to play g4, and you are not going to be able to recapture with the pawn. And I'm just going to stick that blockade on the light squares, and you really would like this bishop involved in the action. But like I said, he's kind of down a tempo. In the King's Indian, often that bishop is here, and often it is black's best attacking piece. And so it's almost like now, this doesn't surprise anybody at this point when you're going all in. Knight h6, very simple and beautiful play. By the way, instead of g5, if black just plays bishop d8, I'm certain white's better. But, just bring the dude over and see what white's going to do to you. It's, clearly he's better. He's up a pawn, but the pawns are kind of funky. There's still every hope of surviving. And I think the Ding of old probably would have played that way. So here we go. This is going to get technical. Nice. I really admire this move because by putting pressure on g5, we now encourage black to play that move. And the bummer of that move is now we have the full blockade on the light squares. And as I was saying about the King's Indian, it's all about controlling e4, and that's what white now gets. In addition to that, we got to say, terrible, terrible, and this guy maybe has a dream of bishop b6, but that's it. Exclam move again. But again, nothing about this is surprising that MVL is finding these kinds of moves. This is how MVL got to be who he is. And actually, while we're on that note of MVL, of course, MVL got in this tournament the last moment because Radjabov dropped out. And, one of the weird things about people laying odds on who's going to win this thing with 40 going to Fabi, 30 going to Ding, was that it only left 30% for the rest of the field. And especially with a guy like MVL, well, definitely the guy has a chance. Definitely the guy has a chance. And, of course, now he's +1 from this game. B4, not only, by the way, undoubling the pawns, but trying to get play with this square, both with the pawn, and we're going to see, actually, there's interesting ideas with the knight. So bishop b6, check to the miserable king, takes, and the reason that black didn't play this is that when this comes, there's just all kinds of drama now with d4, and yeah, it's going to be very rough. And but this move it's positional capitulation. I guess there's some hope of getting pressure on this pawn, but now this is weak, the king's weak, the knight is pretty bad, and our rook is the one that has the fun whenever it wants to, coming over to any of these squares. Let's call this positionally lost. And a very nice finish here indeed. b6, queen f5, old school, and we're just going to run it here, d6. MVL said in the post game that he became a little bit uncertain here, that he missed rook d8, but really, white is in full control at this point, and d6 is just a nice finish. Rook b1, b7, exclam, pieces are a wreck. Time to resign. So I chose this, perhaps cruelly, as a move of the day. Cruelly because it's not a exclam or anything like that, but actually someone throwing away their tournament. But I thought it's very interesting psychologically to think about the pressure on Ding to win this tournament, and that pressure leading, at least in some way, to this demise. Now we have to add, like a lot of players, he's had grief just getting to Russia. Like Wang Hao was in quarantine for a long time. And I think Ding was like hanging out without anybody really to talk to somewhere in Russia himself before the tournament started. Fabi had to like catch a miracle flight to even get there, In any case, everybody is having trouble or had trouble coming to the event. And MVL is the greatest example of all. He didn't even know he was going to be playing until 2 weeks before this. So we have a wide open tournament now. And, well, we'll do the move of the day from round 3 tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye.